What kind of numbers are you talking about from a performance standpoint?
We're talking about 150 million IOPS.
We have something called an inline deduplication which happens out here, and you talk about almost 5x data reduction. That is even higher than whatever we heard in the other set of portfolio what you have.
So inbuilt efficiencies like compression or deduplication has to be there. And what we are doing is, we are doing it slightly differently than what other vendors do, is we have an additional processing capability to do it alongside your CPU cores that are used for storage processing. We have a dedicated card which does deduplication and compression, and this is inline, global, and it is always on.
Now with a multi cloud scenario being there, how does it work in terms of the integration with PowerMax extending onto cloud, as well as making sure it is one among a common platform like what you have with VMware, right? The vCloud suite.
Rolling.
Rolling. Action.
And cut.
Today is exciting. We have a V12 800 PS Ferrari in the house, and Dell Technologies calls it as a PowerMax. And to talk about it, we have Sugumar Umapathy, who's a field CTO and enterprise architect, who's going to give us more insights about it. So Sugumar, welcome, and I'm glad to have you here with us. Would love to hear more about this Ferrari in the house. So yeah.
Thank you, Suman. Thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure to be here.
So Sugumar, PowerMax is known for performance, scalability, efficiency. So give us more understanding about it. What does it do?
PowerMax is actually the most trusted storage platform in the world. Right? So PowerMax has been helping a lot of business run their mission critical workloads, be it airlines, be it financial institutions, be it manufacturing. You can name it, all their mission critical workloads run on PowerMax. PowerMax is not just known for its speed, efficiency and performance, it also is known for its availability. I would say availability is the single most reason a lot of customers buy PowerMax. When I say availability, the application just does not have an option for a downtime, right? So here we are talking about PowerMax, which can do code loads in about less than 6 seconds, right? And also subcontrol fault isolation. So what it means is your application is always on.
Right.
That is what PowerMax is known for. So when it comes to PowerMax architecture, be it into an NVMe architecture, be it the storage class memory that we have with Intel Optane, or any of those latest technologies that we bring in, we always set a standard. And that is why PowerMax is known, PowerMax and the Symmetrix family is known for being the gold standard in an enterprise storage platform.
So this is basically a multi-controller scale-up and a scale-out architecture with end-to-end NVMe, right? So how is it going to be, I mean, what kind of workloads does this really suit in?
Right. So PowerMax is a multi-controller, multi-dimensional scale system.
Right.
You can scale up, scale out in terms of both capacity and performance. The ports, the cores of CPUs, the performance also can be enhanced like that. So because of this massive parallelism that we can bring in and the amount of load that we can handle, these systems are designed for not only just the traditional workloads that we have always seen, but also the modern applications,
right.
Be it analytics, be it any of these new generation AI or machine learning capabilities. Right. This platform nails it in terms of performance to those applications as well.
Now talking about storage as such, right? Dell Technologies obviously has a plethora of storage technologies with them. Obviously, each one suiting its own set of category. Now you have PowerStore, you have PowerScale, a lot of power built into these set of storages.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure a lot of enterprises or customers, whoever would wanting to even adopt this technology, would kind of get confused. If you can give us some clarity in terms of where exactly does this fit into that entire set of portfolio what you have?
Great question. Horses for courses, right? So not every customer requirement can be met with one single storage array. That is why Dell Technologies believe in providing options and choices to customers. So PowerMax, if you look at, is an ideal platform for consolidation. So you call it mainframe, iSeries, open systems, be it file, block, virtual machines, vVols, containers, you name it, you can have this consolidated on this platform.
Right.
This is a unique capability that PowerMax offers to you. Alongside, there are so many other things that we can talk about, but the real differentiator amongst this platform and all others, if you look at, is the ability to be able to consolidate massive workloads onto one single array.
So when you say that, right, what kind of numbers are you talking about from a performance standpoint?
Oh yeah, so this being a world's most trusted platform, they naturally have to deliver a lot of performance, and a basket to hold all the eggs in one basket, right, you need to have tremendous amount of performance. So this is designed into an NVMe, as I mentioned, done right, and supports the state of the art storage class memory Intel Optanes, right, which also enhances the performance. So in terms of numbers, if you really look at, we're talking about 150 million IOPS to deliver.
That's huge.
Yeah, you can basically just have one storage array to handle all your workloads. Any size of your organization, does not matter, right? And about 350 gigabytes of throughput. And we're talking about response times for critical applications under 100 microseconds.
So it's kind of right in saying that, it's a Ferrari.
Absolutely.
The entire set of portfolio. What you
Absolutely.
have, right. So is this largely for you only for mission critical workloads, or how does it work in the sense? Do customers need to only go for in-house mission critical workloads, or is it even the mixed workloads, whatever they have? Does everything fit into the same category, especially when talking about the storage?
Yeah, in terms of the workloads that are suited for this particular storage array, you can run anything end to end. So we don't demarcate between different workloads. But in terms of the dollar per GB and in terms of the functionalities that you expect from a cost perspective, this is typically used for very mission critical workloads, right? You can definitely run anything that you want. There are many times customers do not want to have the mission critical workload might be a large portion of it, and they might have non-critical workloads as well. You can very well use this. This system has inbuilt efficiencies like deduplication and compression, thereby making your total cost of ownership much lower.
Right.
At the same time, because of the efficiencies that we bring in with the Snap technologies, the copies of data that you create not necessarily will occupy more space.
Very right.
So thereby you can add more workloads and not occupy any more space within the storage array. Thereby you're basically getting it free along for your other applications.
And Sugumar, you said it's obviously meant for mission critical data. That also means that this data is very, very important for customers. So talking about data, obviously the very next thing which comes into our mind is analytics, right? How well does this particular platform help customers in terms of doing that wide amount of data what they have? How do they do analytics on top of it? Does it support it?
Absolutely. So with the massive amount of performance we discussed about 150 million IOPS and even 350 gigabytes of throughput, the end-to-end NVMe architecture makes it possible to run near real-time analytics on these platforms. To be frank, inside this system, there is a lot of AI and machine learning that has been already cooked up to take care of intelligent data placements, for example, and thereby it allows you to run mission critical workloads alongside your your analytics kind of workloads. As you know, most of the times these are contradicting or competing workloads in your organization. So you do not want one to impact the other, right? You can always carve out space for each of them. You can ensure quality of service for each of the applications, because when you have all of them into one array, right, and each of them demand very, very high performance, you do not want one to impact the other.
Very true.
So the benefit of PowerMax architecture is you are able to segregate the workload's performance and isolate them from each other. So you will never have a situation where something which is as demanding as an analytics starting to impact your production. The beauty is you can move data between these platforms, between these workloads very, very seamlessly.
See, pretty much every storage is whatever is there available in the market, including the ones what you also have in your other portfolio. We talk about data reduction or data deduplication is something which is very important. We have something called an inline deduplication which happens out here, and you talk about almost 5x data reduction. That is even higher than whatever we heard in the other set of portfolio what you have. So throw some light about it. How does it happen? How does it work?
Great question. See, SCM today, or the Intel Optane's storage class memory, is one of the most expensive piece of technology available today, being this is the latest generation available.
Right.
So we want this to be made available to customers to be able to use it and leverage the performance of it to do better insights out of your data.
Right.
So inbuilt efficiencies like compression or deduplication has to be there, and what we are doing is we are doing it slightly differently than what other vendors do. Is we have an additional processing capability to do it alongside your CPU cores that are used for storage processing. We have a dedicated card which does deduplication and compression, and this is inline, global, and it is always on.
Right.
The benefit is it is taking care of your data, it is sitting on the data path, but it does not impact your response time,
Right.
which is the most critical, because when it comes to inline deduplication or compression, all the other vendors typically will have sacrifice in terms of performance. You enable that, it starts to impact your latency.
Right.
That is not going to be the case with PowerMax. You are always having a deduplication or compression on. We call it as DRR. It is always on, and it does not impact your performance, because this happens post it has moved out of the cache into the drives on the way. So thereby your asynchronous part of it, the I/O is completely asynchronous to this.
Right.
So thereby you will always have the benefits of efficiency, able to store much more within the capacity that you have,
Right.
but your performance is always the best.
Fantastic. Now, while you said that, right, something which actually runs in my mind is that, when you said symmetrics, when you mentioned symmetrics, it straight away gets me to thinking that, there's a lot of BFSI customers, especially who have adopted symmetrics storage, and they've kind of seen a huge amount of benefits. And in fact, even you and me have seen benefits out of it, because every time we do a transaction, if you're seeing a great amount of performance happening there, I'm sure you know what is running actually behind it. And when such is the case, right, is it right if I say that this is predominantly made for large enterprises who have very heavy workloads, performance intensive workloads? Will I be right in saying that?
To a certain extent you are right, but that is not always the case.
Okay.
The choice of PowerMax comes in when you have a data that is extremely critical for you.
Right.
It is not only about performance. Performance is a given. Capacity again is given. So you can start off, for example, in case of PowerMax, you can start off with as small as 10 terabytes of capacity. Right. So there are a lot of customers, medium segment customers, small segment customers, who have had such critical data, and they need data availability as the single most important capability. Right. Those customers tend to use this. It is not about only the large enterprises who have petabytes of capacity by these platforms. These platforms are used by a lot of customers. Even in India, if you look at, there are so many customers who have a very small capacity, but because of the capabilities that is offered, for example, SRDF, remote replication capability,
Right.
is a gold standard. Right? If somebody wants a data availability beyond a location, and it has to be 0 RPO, which means there is absolutely no data loss possible, even in case of a disaster, this is the right platform.
Right.
It is not meant only for large enterprises. Anybody will be able to use this.
Very nicely put, Sugumar. In fact, we ourselves had been there at a lot of customer places wherein we saw that kind of a requirement. Absolutely. Wherein the data set was pretty low, but however the performance ask was slightly higher depending on the kind of application what they were using. Yeah. And it made absolute sense for them to go for PowerMax. Earlier it used to be called as VMax, yeah. And we've seen a lot of adoption happening around that as well. Now, keeping that in mind, another company of yours which belongs to Dell Technologies, which is VMware, happens to be present not only in large enterprises, obviously in every other segment as well. Now, when we talk about VMware or virtualization for that matter, customers not only adopt VMware alone, there are multiple other hypervisors as well. Now, when it comes to multiple hypervisor support as well as your tight integration with VMware alone, how does that work?
Right. So today, if you look at, the idea is to be able to manage your infrastructure at a much more higher level than having to do mundane tasks that typically used to be done.
Right.
So what we are trying to focus around is to move away from a storage centric management and monitoring into an application level.
Right.
That is what these integration into different hypervisors, different automation tools provide you. VMware being a part of Dell Technologies, we always have the best and first and the best. That's what we always be proud about, right? So we always ensure that the capabilities that we build are jointly built, and we are the first ones to come out with most of them.
Right.
So a lot of examples like that. vVols, for example, which is specific to VMware, allows you to create and provision volumes right out of the vCenter instead of having to come to a storage area at all.
Very right, yeah.
Right.
Makes
Similarly,
sense.
protecting applications, you don't have to come to a storage to create copies or remote replication, etc. Right. We have a strong integration, and we are the first ones to have SRDF able to replicate your vVols,
Right.
and integrate also with the SRM for you to be able to do a automated failover if you would want to.
Right.
Again, this is something that we continue to work on. So needless to say, we also do integration into VRA, VROps to be able to manage and monitor everything from the application layer.
Right.
And also industry also is quite wide. So today we have integration points into with REST API, obviously.
Right.
We are able to integrate into Ansible modules, Puppet, for example, or
Right.
PowerShell, Python, for example.
Right.
Right. So many things which you can do, and everything is integrated into the PowerMax.
We see a lot of customers today getting into a very, not only just private cloud, what they have in-house, they would also want to have a multi-cloud kind of an environment wherein they have different workloads set in different clouds. Obviously, they have to work on the economies of scale as well. Now, with a multi-cloud scenario being there, how does it work in terms of the integration with PowerMax extending onto cloud, as well as making sure it is one among a common platform like what you have with VMware, right? The vCloud suite. How does it work?
Certainly. So today's world is all about having flexibility where you want to deploy applications. Multi-cloud makes it possible. You are able to deploy applications where you need,
Right.
and ability to create the space that you need wherever you want. Right. PowerMax, being the middle of all of these things, allows you to have those integration points into multi-cloud journey that you would have. For example, VMware Cloud Foundation, if you would
Right.
want to have ability to move data in and out of cloud, in and out of public clouds, for example. We also have an option for moving data which is, say, for example, to be archived. You don't want to keep it on an expensive storage array.
Right.
You want to move that into probably an object storage,
Right.
onto maybe AWS, for example, or an ECS, our own portfolio that we have. So you can always do that either of these public clouds or onto any of the object storages.
Right.
Also, you are able to move snapshots data from PowerMax onto an AWS or an Azure.
Okay.
That allows you to do, for example, you want to do analytics. You don't have enough compute power on your on-premises. You want to run it out of a cloud.
Right.
Seamlessly, you have a copy available, make it available for a system there in your cloud, and start running analytics from there. And PowerMax supports that. You can always do that.
Makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Absolutely. This we call it as cloud mobility.
Right.
So that allows you to move data seamlessly for you.
Gives a lot of flexibility for customer, as well as at the same time, most of the time, this is what we see with customers, right? They have a set of primary, their primary data over here in the production, and they wouldn't want to really touch it and do anything with it, meddle with it. Reason being, users are going to keep accessing it.
True.
This makes a lot of sense, having an extension somewhere in the cloud or even in a service like ECS, and then do all your analytics on top of it over there. Makes a lot of, that kind of flexibility is something which is, I'm sure people are gonna love
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. People want that kind of flexibility.
Okay. Now we see that a lot of organizations are wanting to make sure that they build their own digital IP. They want to make sure today, whether it's a manufacturing company or even somebody is in retail, or doesn't matter, even if it's a restaurant today we order food by just touch of a finger, right? So now when the world is running in that direction, and obviously making sure services are delivered as a microservice to customers, to the users, are so much more important. How does VMax play or PowerMax play when it comes to a containerization and Kubernetes kind of environment?
Certainly. So today the world is moving towards more of an agile framework.
Right.
You want to be able to do things much more faster,
Right.
deliver more new capabilities on a daily basis, if not hourly basis. right? So you want new functionalities to come in. So the platform definitely supports such capabilities. So we very well support container storage interface, which allows you to have persistent storages for your containers which need storage, which have to be persistent. Very well support that as well. Apart from that, this integrates with all of your CI DevOps kind of workloads,
Right.
CI/CD. All of them are supported with this platform. So REST API is a key factor here, and the ability to have all of those workloads run on this platform seamlessly, right? And you don't have to come to a PowerMax GUI to do many of the tasks that you typically, when you talk about management, when you talk about provisioning, storage provisioning, which used to happen, maybe you raise a ticket and a few hours later somebody starts to provision. Those days are gone. You do not wait for any of those things. So today you want everything instantaneously. That is where we are moving towards. Automation is the key. And call it infrastructure as a code. You want to call it as an ability to do DevOps and CI/CD pipelines. Bring it on. PowerMax is there for you.
Right. So you spoke about automating a lot of stuff. One of the ways of doing it is making sure that when there is no human intervention is what we ideally want. Machines need to become a lot more intelligent, and machine learning is something which is key today, and every single technology is adopting this particular feature into their set of offerings to make sure that a lot of things can actually, we need not have to be done manually, and a lot of things can be done in an automated way. Now what kind of machine learning or what kind of artificial intelligence is kind of built inside PowerMax?
Right. So as I mentioned a little back, storage-less memory is an expensive technology, and we also have flash, which is allowing you to tier data. Right. So the traditional way is to have data move based on access patterns into specific tiers, right? Which is I would say reactive, and also takes a lot of time. You're locking some of the critical expensive piece of gear for some non-critical works, right? So that is where we started thinking of ways to improve it. So we brought in machine learning and artificial intelligence within the PowerMax platform, built inside to take care of intelligent data placements. So as the data comes in, right from the time it leaves the HBA of the servers, the data is decided to place on different tiers depending upon how frequently it is getting used. This is a learning that the system does on its own. You don't have to do anything. It's always on. And what we have seen is this does about 6 billion decisions in a day on an average, right? So this is on every single IO that happens, we are able to decide, is it right to be placed on a SCM or on a flash drive, and accordingly manage that to seamlessly take care of your data placement and efficiently managing your overall capacity.
Right. So see, this is great, and since we are talking about a lot of features within a particular storage and what are the kind of features and functionalities what customers are seeing today, one of the primary thing what customers and enterprises want is trust in whatever technology we adopt. When I say trust, it can be even ethical AI for that matter, or it can be even for that matter in terms of privacy. How is that you can also protect these data and system infrastructure as such by external threats? It can be cyber attacks, or it can be something like a ransomware attack. Now, how is there any play over here, and how does PowerMax make sure that these kind of things are mitigated?
Great question. So cybersecurity is one of the most thought of topics by every organization today, and that is I would say the topmost in their list of action to be taken. So PowerMax definitely is never behind any of these, right? So the access to a PowerMax, for example, is multi-factor authentication. So you do not just like that get into a PowerMax to do anything. Right. Second, you also have an tamper-proof audit log. Who entered, did what, when. This is a tamper-proof access list that is available, and that takes care of knowing who is doing what, right? Especially for any internal people who try to take away the data or create any sort of confusion.
This is seriously like considering data as a currency.
Absolutely. So today that is the most valued part of it, right?
Correct.
So third, the PowerMax also has an inbuilt AES 256-bit encryption that takes care of your data at rest encryption. This is again FIPS 140-2 level 2 certified. So you can securely put your data always inside this platform, against any backdoor entries, if you want to call it. So we have keys to protect it. We have an internal key management, as well as if you want to have a centralized key management, we can very well integrate with them. So data is always secure within. Now what if your cyber attack comes through an application? Somebody gets into your application or a database, drops a table or encrypts it. How do you protect it?
Right.
We thought about it and came out with something which is called as a secure snap.
Okay.
With secure snap, you can set a particular snapshot, create secure snapshots whenever you would need. Doesn't occupy much space because snapshots are based on a redirect on write technology,
Right.
thereby no space occupied, very little space occupied. So this copy, once you mark it as a secure snap, even an administrator cannot delete or modify that snapshot.
Right.
Even an EMC support or a Dell Technologies support cannot modify or delete that. That copy is always available for you. For example, if you choose to do, say, once in a day a secure snap, that copy is available for you. Even if an attack happens, you can always go back to, say, 24-hour back data that is secure for you. You are not going to be paying a ransom for any of the attacks that happen.
Right, right. So here is the storage, which is basically packed with a lot of features and functionalities, and obviously people who really consider that data is a true currency, and that's how their business is run, and it can be any kind of critical data, whether it's customer data or their own data, and data used for analytics, or it's a passive data which they're not, probably an old data which they're trying to do a lot of analysis on. Now one thing which comes out clearly is that with so many features being there, I'm sure from a pricing point of view, which most of the customers are kind of sensitive towards, how does the entire pricing and how does the licensing and everything work when it comes to PowerMax? Is it something which people can easily afford?
Certainly. So as I mentioned some time back, PowerMax is available in small configurations as well. Right. So PowerMax has two models, 2000 and 8000, available in very small capacities like 10 terabyte onwards you can start. Right. It makes also sense to look at efficiency being a picture here. So take about 5:1 efficiency. You're talking about 10 terabyte. If you buy, you're able to store 50 terabytes of capacity.
Right.
Add on to that, you are able to have many capabilities like snapshots, etc. So PowerMax licensing is again very, very simple. It comes with an appliance based packaging.
Right.
So you buy a PowerMax, you get the licenses in two options, either as an Essentials or in a Pro. Essentials, as the name suggests, it comes with the basic needs that you need, like for example, quality of service, dedupe compression, snapshot. These kind of capabilities are already built. You don't have to pay anything. You always available to you right from the day you buy it. Second is in Pro, where you want to do much more than that. You want to be able to have multi-site, 3-site remote replication, 4-site remote replication. You want to have encryption. You want to have many more capabilities. You can do all of those things with the Pro package. So, and to top it all, this comes with a few additional benefits. Right. First, we have something which is called as an Apex. Apex allows you to buy this on a consumption model. Instead of having to pay upfront, you can go for a consumption based, where you pay on a utility, pay per use or pay as you grow. Second, we also have something which is called as a future proof loyalty program. Future proof loyalty program allows you to have all of these benefits that you talked about available to you. Some of them, if you really look at in terms of never worry migrations that you can do, you don't have to worry about moving from one platform to another, or for example the satisfaction guarantee of up to 3 years. So if your system is not performing up to your expectation anytime during the 3 years, you can get your money back. So that's the kind of integration and trust we have within the platform that allows you to trust, put your workloads on this platform with confidence.
So ultimately what I would want to say is that if I can conclude on the when it comes to costing part, I think the way the customers or enterprises need to look at it as, what is my workload, what is the kind of performance what I need, basis that they can actually choose what models they need to go with. And they can start small and then they can scale. They don't need to buy upfront something which is absolutely big, which is not required in any case. So buy small, grow big, and then also there are anyway flexible consumption models in terms of whether you want to do it at as a capex purchase, or you would want to do it in an OPEX model in a way wherein you're kind of paying it on a quarterly basis, or you can even lease it, wherein you're kind of paying either monthly or a quarterly basis. So that makes a lot of sense in terms of making sure customers can adopt these kind of technologies and make sure that their services and their applications are available for their internal customers or for their external customers, and make sure that there's a great amount of satisfaction in the way their customers consume their services.
Certainly.
So,
democratizing technology, that is what we are all about.
Absolutely. Now that brings me to the point where I'd like to understand from you. You have spent a lot of time, especially in the IT industry as such, lot of big MNCs, and you have been with Dell Technologies for quite a long time, to be very frank, right? Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And with that being said, how similar or how different is been your journey compared to your previous experience to what the experience you have today with Dell Technologies?
Well, so data is a new currency, right? It has always been the fundamental reason most of these organizations survive.
Right.
And I have been used to having around data all the while, right? So when I see today, Dell Technologies is really great placed around this, from the time data is generated to storing it, protecting it, or being able to derive value out of it.
Right.
Dell Technologies offers solutions around it. We are a data-centric organization. We believe data in whatever shape and form, we are able to have that, provide infrastructure capabilities to be able to derive better value out of it.
Right.
Right. And that is why I feel Dell Technologies is, I would say, I can proudly say that this is the only organization which gives you an entire end-to-end view of your data.
Right.
Be it ability to edge where generally it gets generated, or you're storing it in a data center, or protecting it with your data protection solutions or replication, or doing any of the analytics platforms on top of it. Very well, you can do that with Dell Technologies.
So basically it's a gamut of solutions what Dell
Certainly.
carries, and the minute a customer has any sort of a challenge which they're facing, especially with their infrastructure, to make sure that their applications and data are available, what happens over here is that you have tightly integrated technologies right from your compute to storage to cloud, and that makes a huge difference, right? And this is primarily the reason why, in fact, even Chavans, as we being system integrators, we make sure that these technologies are taken to the customer. Something which is even core to us is that how is that we can cut off the complexities what customers normally face when buying, and making sure that they take care of all these technologies, multiple softwares within their premises. So this makes so much more sense for us. So on that point, I also want to know from you in terms of what kind of a difference this Chavans Technologies has made along with Dell Technologies to the customers while we take all these solutions onto the market.
Well, so one thing that is common between Chavans and Dell Technologies is we are all working towards human progress.
Right.
Right. Enriching lives is what Chavans is all about. Right.
Absolutely right.
So we are moving technology jointly to make human progress. Right. And Chavans brings in a lot of experience with leadership team,
Right.
and the right mix of youth and the experience.
Right.
Experience guiding you in the right placements and in terms of having the right strategy towards the organization. And we obviously have had a lot of successful customers and happy customers.
Right.
They always come back to you and with Dell Technologies, right?
Right.
So I really see this is a great partnership that goes on, and I really wish a lot of success for Chavans.
Okay, thank you so much. And also to add to the point what you said, in fact, it is the people-centric view which is actually changing the way we actually work on the ground. What is happening over here, even with Dell Tech or with Chavans, is that we are trying to understand in terms of what are the challenges customers face today, and how is it as a unit we are able to solve those issues with this set of services and capabilities what we have, and that is really making a lot of impact in the market. And I hope to do a lot more work with you in the field and make sure we help a lot more customers and make sure that they are more closer to their objectives and goals whatever they carry. And good to have you here, Sugumar, and it's a great time spent with you and great talking, lot of insights, and I'm sure it's going to be helpful for our customers as well in understanding such kind of capable technologies being there with Dell Tech. So thank you again.
Thank you. It has been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.